All right, good morning. Today, I just want to briefly talk about the sixth grade and the seventh grade. Okay? Sixth grade, my teacher was Miss Price, and that's probably the my favorite teacher of the 3 years that I went to Marydale Elementary School. Uh, Reasons why I liked her: she always did like hands-on learning kind of things, projects like science projects, experiments. Um, I remember like when we were studying the solar system, we did paper mache things of the different planets and stuff. And so she made learning fun, and that's usually how you get students to pay attention. One day, she came to work, it was on a Monday morning, and she had a black eye and a busted lip, and everybody was wondering, what happened? What happened? Well, she told us, she knew as little kids we were kind of worried and everything. They had gone to an LSU game that weekend, and a fight broke out close to where they were sitting, and somebody threw a beer bottle and hit her in the head, busted her head, and her lip, something was thrown, or maybe she got punched. I don't remember exactly, but I remember she said it was at an LSU game. And I wonder if it was when LSU was playing Alabama, because I know firsthand when I worked at LSU, Alabama fans can be, well, sometimes they'll just get out of hand, let's put it that way. And I'm sure they probably say the same thing about LSU fans. Oh, LSU fans are the worst, blah, blah, blah. But it's okay. You don't have to resort to violence, though. If your team's losing or winning, or somebody else doesn't agree with the way you believe. I mean, we see that in the world today. People fighting because they don't believe in the same thing. Anyway. And I liked her because one time she let me pick a book out and read it to the class. I don't know if they still do that, but the teachers used to, like usually I think after lunch or after afternoon recess, they would read us a book. We'd have story time or whatever. And I guess it was just time for us to relax and chill out. But she had read a book that she read every year to her class. And my friend that lived across the street, Ed Boudreau, he was a year older than me, I think. But he had Miss Price. And she told me, she said, how the ending was kind of sad and everything. And she said, I even had them boys in my class crying. She said, Ed Boudreau cried, and that at that time I was like, wow, And all I remember, I think it was a book set back probably like during the Depression years. Little boy, and I want to say Patches, maybe. They called him Patches because it always reminded me of that song, Patches, I'm depending on you, son. But anyway, his dad died probably from like tuberculosis, emphysema, something like that. And the young man had to step up and be the man of the family. It was a good book. I just wish I could remember the name of it. Back then, in the 5th and 6th grade at Marydale, they had what they called the Physical Fitness Award. You had to do certain things during PE and excel in them for your name to be submitted for the Presidential Physical Fitness Award. Look it up. I was so proud to get that patch and a certificate that was signed by the president congratulating me. And of course, now that we know about the auto pen, I'm sure it was probably an auto pen thing, but I didn't care. I got my patch and I got my certificate from the president, so all was good. An experience I didn't talk about, I think it was in the 6th grade. If not, it would have been 5th. This heavyset girl named Kim sat behind me in class. And every day at lunch, she would eat fast, faster than most of the other kids. And she'd end up throwing up. you know, probably because she ate so fast. I don't know, maybe she had some kind of digestive problem. But she sat behind me, and one day after lunch, when we had gotten back into the room, after a few minutes, she threw up. Threw up on the back of my coat. I had this pretty navy blue fuzzy coat that I just loved, and she threw up on my coat. I was so devastated, let me tell you. I held a grudge against that girl for probably longer than I should have. I mean, maybe she couldn't help it, but it was like, oh my God, she threw up on my coat. Grossed me out. I liked doing PE at that age. We learned how to do square dancing. That was fun. And then they had this other thing, they called it tinikling. You can maybe look it up on YouTube. But you've got two people in these long bamboo poles, and you have a certain rhythm, like, I think it was down two, clap two, down two, clap two, something like that. And then you'd have a third person that had to like do this little dance thing in and out of the bamboo poles and not get your foot caught when they closed it. Anyway, that was fun. We enjoyed doing that. And one time they had an open house for parents so we could demonstrate what all we were learning in PE. Some of the kids did a little square dance thing, and some of us did the tinikling thing. I think me and Krista did the tinikling thing. But we used to have fun doing the square dancing too. Anyway. Again, my favorite subjects were probably like math and reading and spelling. The stuff that I considered kind of easy, that I didn't have to study a lot. So that was 3 years I went to Marydale for the 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. Then I had to change schools again. And 7th grade was considered junior high school. I'm sorry, that's Randy's phone ringing. I'm not going to step off camera and go stop it. And he went next door to Amber's. But anyway, 7th grade, I had to change schools again. So I went to the junior high. 7th, 8th, and 9th were considered junior high. I hated the new school. It was called Park Forest. The kids there were mean and hateful. I got picked on. You know, it's an awkward age anyway, 12 and 13. You know, you're just budding as a young woman, and you feel geeky sometimes and not worthy. You see other girls that you feel are prettier than you and all that kind of crazy crap. But I wasn't sure if I was going to mention this or not, but I am. Why not? I'm 66 years old. I'm almost 67. Next year I'll be 67. One day I wore my hair in pigtails. You know, I thought it was cute. Well, in the cafeteria, there was this group of kids, and I guess today you would call them stoners or whatever, the kids that were always getting in trouble and doing stuff they weren't supposed to do. One of them started saying I look like a puppy dog with my pigtails. Well, that embarrassed me because they were loud in the cafeteria and everybody could hear. And then it got to be almost an everyday occurrence. They would start barking when they saw me. And that was mean and cruel. If I saw some of those people today, I would ask them, why did you do that? I guess it made them feel good about themselves. I don't know, but it sure was hurtful to me. And so the following year, they were going to be changing the school districts again. And I was going to go back to Glen Oaks. It used to be Glen Oaks Elementary and Junior High, but then they had built a new elementary, so then it was just Glen Oaks Junior High. So for 8th and 9th grade, I was going to go to a different school. Oh, I was so happy. Plus, it was closer to our house. They were busing us all the way, across town to a different school. Back then, things were crazy. They were always trying to manipulate the system and change the boundaries of the schools. And it probably had a lot to do with race. They were trying to make things balanced. I don't know. But I did not like the school, Park Forest. I know I have friends that went there and they liked it, but maybe they were never picked on in school either. But, oh, and there was one teacher I had, I could not stand her. She was my history teacher. She was mean. And she used to like to chew on her ink pen. One day, I guess she chewed it so much that it popped it and the ink got in her mouth. Next thing you know, she's reaching over the garbage can and she's going blah, 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 trying to get all the ink out of her mouth. I thought that was the funniest thing. But of course I had to hide it, because if she would have seen me laughing at her, whew, she probably would have sent me to the office or failed me or something. But anyway, so the next video is going to be 8th and 9th grade, and I'll tell you a few things about that. And then high school. And then, like, after I graduate, how my life changed and who I met. And, you know, you all know who I met and who I married. Well, some of you know. But, so like I said, just hang in with me for the next few videos, and then we'll get into some real juicy, grown-up kind of life experience stuff. Alright? So, this will be the one for today. And I hope y'all are enjoying them so far, because I love sharing this with y'all. And I will see y'all on the next video. Bye.